Kentico CMS newsletter module, you can quickly set up newsletters, manage membership, and author issues. Kentico CMS provides customizable subscription management templates that allow you to change the look and feel that email users receive when they either subscribe or unsubscribe to a specific newsletter. Out of the box, Kentico provides two types of newsletters. The first is a static newsletter. Static newsletters are based on a predefined templates with editable regions. These templates are prepared by Web Designer and contain the overall layout of the newsletter, while the newsletter author simply enters the text of each particular issue. Dynamic newsletters are sent regularly on a given period. They're based on an email template defined from pages that are created, whether they're on your own site or another site. Static newsletters are based on predefined templates with editable regions. The template is prepared by a web developer and it contains the overall layout of the newsletter, while the newsletter author is responsible for entering the information and publishing the newsletter. Let's create a static newsletter. We're going to log into CMS Desk, and within CMS Desk, we're going to select Tools and Newsletters. The first place we want to look at is our templates. The sample corporate site ships with three basic templates. The first is the newsletter issue template. This template defines the layout and design of a static newsletter. It contains editable regions where the newsletter author can enter their content. The second is the subscription confirmation template. This is a template of the email message sent when a user subscribes to the newsletter. The last is the unsubscription confirmation template, which is a template of the email message that's sent when a user unsubscribes. Now that we've seen our basic templates, let's select Newsletters and then New Newsletter. I'm going to create a newsletter display name of my newsletter, a newsletter name, which is the code name of my newsletter. I'm going to leave the subscription confirmation and unsubscription confirmation the default selected. I'm going to create the sender name of my own, and I'm going to use my own email. Make sure that I have template-based newsletter selected, and then click OK. Now that I've saved my newsletter, I have several new options that are available to me. The first is base URL. The base URL of your website is used to convert relative links to absolute. In a production environment, it's often necessary to set this property for your unsubscription links to work properly. It's also useful if you encounter any issue with links in a newsletter subscription. The second is the unsubscription page URL. This is the page where you might place your unsubscription newsletter web part for available general use. And finally, is your send issues via email queue. I'm going to go ahead and enable this. And it's important to remember, if enabled, newsletter issues are sent to the SMTP server via the email queue. This is really recommended for newsletters with a large number of recipients, because often if it's disabled, the issues are sent directly to the SMTP server. Now that I've made that change, let's go ahead and select OK. The next step is to create subscribers. You have two options. You can use the newsletter subscription web part and make it available on your live page, or you can select subscribers and manually enter a new subscriber. So for example, if I wanted to enter Joe at company.com, and his first name is Joe and his last name is Franklin, and then we can select OK. We can then enter a subscription to a specific newsletter. We're going to subscribe him to my newsletter and then click OK. Now that we've created our newsletter and added a subscriber, let's go ahead and create a new newsletter issue. We can select Newsletters and then the edit icon and then create new issue. This will go ahead and walk us through a wizard which will allow us to create our newsletter and then send it out. The first thing we want to enter is the subject. Welcome to our newsletter, and then our content. Hello and welcome. Now that we've created some simple content, we're going to select Next. Now that we've created our content, we have an opportunity to preview our newsletter. And as you can see, we have our Joe at company.com, who was our one subscriber. Now that we've previewed our newsletter, we can select Next again, and we have a couple of options. We can schedule our newsletter, or we can send it manually later. I'm going to select to send now. We're going to go ahead and hit Finish, and you'll notice that if I go ahead and select Newsletters, My Newsletter, you'll notice that I have our sent email as 1. Now that we've sent our newsletter, we can take a look at it in the outbound queue because we're sending it via SMTP. I can switch to Site Manager, select Administration, Email Queue, and you'll notice that I have Welcome to our newsletter, which is currently waiting to be sent to Joe at company.com. I can take a look at this newsletter just to see what it looks like. Dynamic newsletters contain the content of a given page, and they're sent out automatically on a regular basis using the built-in scheduling system available within Kentico CMS. Let's create a dynamic newsletter. First thing we want to do is log into CMS Desk, select Tools, Newsletters, and then New Newsletter. We're going to enter the newsletter display name of My Dynamic Newsletter and the newsletter name or code name of My Dynamic Newsletter. We're going to leave our subscription confirmation and unsubscription confirmation the same. I'm going to use my name as the sender name and my email as the sender email. I'm going to select a dynamic newsletter, and you'll notice that it asks me for a source page name. This is the URL that's going to be used to retrieve the content from. I'm going to enter http www.kentico/home.aspx. I'm going to schedule the mail out, and you'll notice that I can specify the period that it will go out. For the purposes of this example, I'm going to specify this as a start time of now. I'm going to make it every second between now and midnight and send it out all 7 days. In a production environment, you're going to want to make sure that you set this up with appropriate periodicity for your end users. I'll select OK, and I'm going to use the following subject, your homepage updates, and then click OK. Next thing we want to do is add a subscriber. We're going to add a subscriber, and we're going to use Joe Franklin and select OK. Now that we've added our subscriber, we could select Newsletters, go back in and look at it, and you'll notice that we have our first issue that's actually been sent.